It was a quiet Sunday afternoon in a small suburban neighborhood, the kind of place where people mowed their lawns every Saturday, where kids played in sprinklers, and where neighbors nodded politely but never got too close. The sun shone gently over the houses, painting everything in a calm, golden light. But in that calm, on that one ordinary afternoon, something happened that would shake the entire street and restore faith in humanity in a way no one would ever forget. The sound of a child crying broke through the silence. It wasn't just a cry, it was a scream full of terror and pain, the kind that makes your chest tighten before you even know what's wrong. The boy couldn't have been older than 7, clutching a small, worn-out teddy bear in his trembling hands. Tears streamed down his dirt-smudged face as he stumbled out of the small white house at the corner of the street, his voice cracking as he shouted for help. Behind him, an elderly woman sat on the porch steps, holding her chest, her cheek bruised and red. "Grandma," he sobbed, barely able to breathe between cries. "He hit my grandma." Inside the house, a man's shadow lingered near the door. He was tall, broad, and mean-looking. The kind of man whose presence alone was enough to drain all warmth from a room. A beer bottle dangled lazily from his hand as he stared at the crying boy and the trembling old woman. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to. The look in his eyes was enough to tell everyone around that this wasn't the first time something like this had happened. Before you continue watching, if you believe that kindness, courage, and standing up for what's right can still change the world, hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this remind us sometimes the smallest act of bravery can spark a miracle. The boy's cries echoed down the street. Neighbors peeked out from behind their curtains but didn't step outside. Everyone knew the man in that house. They knew his temper, his drinking, and the way he scared people into silence. No one wanted to get involved. No one except for the sound that came next. A deep, rumbling thunder that grew louder and louder. It wasn't a storm, it was engines. 6 motorcycles turned the corner and rolled slowly down the street, their chrome gleaming under the sun. They weren't local. No one had ever seen them here before. The riders were rough-looking men in leather vests, tattoos crawling up their arms, their faces weathered by time and road dust. They parked their bikes right outside the White House, the engine idling like growling beasts before, one by one, they shut them off. The leader, a tall man with a grey beard, a scar across his cheek, and a leather vest that read Iron Angels, stepped forward. His name was Cole. He had been riding with the club for more than 2 decades, and though people often judged him by his looks, he was known among those who really knew him as a man who believed in loyalty, respect, and protecting the helpless. Cole crouched down in front of the crying boy. The boy's small chest heaved with sobs as he tried to speak through the tears. He hit my grandma. I told him to stop, and he pushed me too. I didn't know where else to go. The boy's voice cracked as he spoke, clutching his teddy bear tightly as though it was the only safe thing left in the world. Cole's face hardened. Behind him, the rest of the bikers exchanged glances. They weren't strangers to pain. They'd seen it all, from broken lives to broken spirits. But there was something about the way this kid stood there trying to be brave while tears streamed down his face that hit them differently. Cole gently put a hand on the boy's shoulder. "What's your name, kid?" "Eli," the boy whispered. Cole nodded. "All right, Eli, stay right here with your grandma, okay?" He stood up slowly, his eyes locking on the man still standing in the doorway. The man, drunk, sneering, raised his bottle slightly as if to mock them. "What, you gonna teach me a lesson?" He scoffed. "Mind your business, this is my house." Cole didn't say a word. He took a few steps forward, his boots crunching against the gravel, stopping just short of the porch. His voice, when it finally came, was low and steady. "Your house," he said, "doesn't give you the right to hurt people, especially not her." He nodded toward the trembling old woman. The man laughed, an ugly sound that made everyone's stomach turn. "You think you're some kind of hero because you ride a bike and wear a vest." He spat. "Get off my property." Cole's expression didn't change, but his men stepped forward in unison, forming a quiet, intimidating wall behind him. The air grew tense. The man's laughter faded. He took a step back, his false confidence starting to crack. Eli ran to his grandmother's side, holding her hand as she winced in pain. Her breathing was shallow, but she looked at the bikers with tears of relief. "Thank you," she whispered weakly. Cole knelt beside her, "Ma'am, are you hurt, Bear?" She shook her head softly, just scared. "I tried to protect him. I told him to leave my grandson alone." Cole's jaw tightened. "You don't have to explain. You just sit tight, all right?" The man on the porch finally realized the situation was turning against him. He started to shout, his words slurred, but before he could take another step, one of the bikers quietly picked up his phone. Within minutes, sirens echoed in the distance. The man's arrogance melted into panic as a police cruiser pulled up. When the officers arrived, they listened to Eli's trembling story. The bruises on the old woman's face said the rest. The man was taken away in handcuffs, still yelling, still blaming everyone but himself. But for the first time in a long time, his voice didn't matter. As the cruiser drove off, Eli ran into his grandmother's arms, sobbing with relief. The bikers stood silently for a moment, rough, tough men who had faced the worst parts of life, now wiping at their own eyes. Cole crouched again beside the boy. "You did good, Eli," he said softly. "You were brave when it mattered." Eli looked up at him, eyes wide and sincere. "Thank you for helping my grandma." Cole smiled gently. "She's everyone's grandma now, kid." The bikers stayed until the paramedics arrived. They helped lift the old woman gently into the ambulance, making sure she was treated carefully. Eli didn't let go of his teddy bear or his grandmother's hand the entire time. Later that evening, when everything had calmed down, Cole and his men sat with Eli on the porch. The sun was setting behind them, painting the sky orange and pink. Cole handed Eli a small silver pendant from around his neck, a tiny angel wing. "Keep this," Cole said. "Whenever you feel scared, just remember there are good people out there watching out for you. You're never alone, understand?" Eli nodded slowly, his little fingers curling around the pendant. "I'll never forget you." The bikers stood up, one by one, their engines roaring back to life. The sound filled the street again, not with fear, but with strength and hope. As they rode away, neighbors came out of their houses, some ashamed, some inspired. They had seen something that day. Something that reminded them that courage doesn't always wear a uniform or carry a badge. Sometimes it rides on two wheels. Weeks passed, and life on that quiet street began to change. The old woman, whose name was Martha, recovered well. She often sat on her porch with Eli, waving to the passing cars and watching the world go by. Every so often, they would hear the sound of motorcycles in the distance, and Eli would smile. "It's them, Grandma." The Iron Angels. One morning, Martha found a letter taped to her mailbox. It was written in rough handwriting on torn paper. It read, "Dear Eli and Grandma, we're on the road again, but we'll never forget you. You reminded us why we started this journey in the first place, to stand up for those who can't. Keep that pendant close, kid. It's a promise that good still exists." Cole and the Iron Angels. Martha's eyes welled up as she read the letter aloud. Eli smiled through his tears, clutching the pendant against his chest. From that day on, every time a motorcycle passed by, Eli would run to the edge of the porch, waving his little hand with the teddy bear still tucked under his arm. And though the riders might never have seen him, somewhere out there on an endless highway, Cole and his men rode with the memory of that brave little boy and his gentle grandmother, proof that even in a world full of pain and cruelty, compassion could roar louder than any engine. If this story touched your heart, please don't scroll away. Take a moment to like, comment, and share this video. Help us spread stories of courage, kindness, and second chances, because sometimes the smallest act of goodness can change someone's entire life. And before we end, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were one of those bikers that day? Because maybe, just maybe, the world needs more people who'd park right outside the door of injustice and choose to do what's right.